So, welcome also from my side. You see here some short questions, why and who, what and how, and to creating a first picture of the network. And an example how we have been using this growing network already in Austria to learn from others. But I think if you just remember what we heard a short time ago, the benefit of coming back from the school and meeting 28 colleagues who have been in 28 companies and come in with different experiences. There is a high chance that you find somebody who has an answer to almost every question you come back with. And that is the main reason for creating a network. We are all institutions who have experience in creating dual programs, who have started long time ago, who have been part of a long process with hundreds of universities and thousands of students, or who have been pioneers in a situation where nobody was interested and you had to find a first partner to be 100% stronger and then go on from there. So we already created a network by meeting for 3 years, by looking for partners in Europe, and I have to thank Ichaka. He was the one who first went out of the Basque country, went to France, went to Germany, went to Sweden, also went to Austria, and invited us to share, and invited also us to help him answer some questions he was having. Like he is asking me, how do you do a dual master? I want to do dual master. You are already in the process of delivering a dual master. So we need the networking, and we believe in the networking because that's what we are doing between universities and between companies. And we have the experience that the resulting education is better, has a higher value in many respects for the students, and a lot of this value comes back for our and the company's improvement. For example, we are in constant contact. The companies see what we are teaching because they can ask the student. The universities see how the companies are doing innovation, but also how they are dealing with the students, because they can also ask the student. So that is triggering a rather fast innovation process for our programs. So what we will try in our European network is continue to help each other improve, develop new programs, change the programs, but also offering this expertise to universities that are just starting, or to countries who want to come all the way from the top and create a favorable conditions, or to single persons. It could be the director of an industrial association in a region who thinks this is good, and now he's all alone, and now he has to convince the politicians, the rectors. So we want to create a network where everybody can come in, and because we are already quite a number and quite a diverse group, there is a good chance that you find a solution exactly fitting to your problem. Like when you have the rotation questions, there are all kinds of rotations. And for example, when I started almost 20 years ago, we went out to the companies, the university, and the question was, what is the optimum rotation? It was the result of a long discussion process. In our case, it's production engineering. And the companies said, if we would dream a wish in a fairy tale, we would say we just make this, and all the knowledge is with the students. So we'd like to have the students here all the time. They should not have to go to the university. And we said the same thing. And in the end, it was that was the reason why we came up with a 50-50%. And it was the reason why we came up with 3 months, because the company said, we cannot have less than 6 months, because some of our projects are so long and the student can only learn if he or she is integrated. And we said we cannot have less than about a semester, the student, we cannot teach engineering if the student is, so 3 months was a compromise. And 3 months was also a compromise because we wanted companies from remote mountain valleys. We wanted companies from one side of Austria and the other side of Austria. And the students cannot move every day 500 kilometers. If you have a program where all the companies are within 20 kilometers, it's possible. So there are many circumstances, and you can find, and we expect to find, all of these circumstances represented in a growing network. And since we are at the moment only 7 institutions, every new institution interested, and we have, for example, colleagues from Croatia who are especially interested in IMH because at the moment they have something similar as IMH was before, and they are interested in professionalizing their students and institution towards university-type education. So they are coming to him because that is the situation. And we have colleagues from Spanish universities and from French universities who have very specific questions. So that is a why of the network. So it was also one of the objectives. Right from the beginning, we said we use this European money to start a network, to become a network ourselves. We have spent a lot of time learning from each other. The second was also to involve regional and national stakeholders from education, economic development, labor market research, and innovation. You need all of these. When you start a dual program from the university side, you suddenly realize it's not only about education. You are directly involving the labor market. One of the main benefits our politicians saw right away when we started the dual program was that if you have 30 students in the first year, they all have a 50% contract with an industrial company. They all are in a position that did not exist before. Industry had created 15 full-time jobs right away in the first year. And that is already part of youth employment strategies. It's part of regional development. If some of these jobs are in regions that are farther away from the cities, it is economic development, and it is also something, development of a university having to deal more and more intensely with companies that are not only stakeholders, but suddenly are educators. And suddenly you have other types of professors who have no PhD, but who have tremendous skills and experience. How do you include those experiences into an academic program? We want to expand our activities into all countries of the European Union. So one idea is that we want to invite continuously partners, but only partners who are actually implementing and wanting to implement a program. We don't want to be a network where everybody can come in who does a little excursions with the students or who does problem-based education. This is very good, but we can only, and this is also the case with companies and universities, we have to be at eye level. We only want partners that bring in at least their actual case that's already learning for us and actually need our specific competences. And the specific competences of all institutions present in this program is this about 50-50 creation of a learning environment where students can study in both types of institutions. We also want to support each other in the promotion of the concept. The more we are, the more others will believe us, the more visible our activities will be, the easier it will be to convince people in countries or in institutions that are not yet participating. And then, of course, we want to address specific issues all the way down very deep in the company everyday processes, but also in the curricula and in the everyday teaching processes at universities. And the type of input already from the questions now is, some of the questions is, how do I make a very, very first step? And then somebody else comes and says, I have this one course at the university. How can I include a practical experience if I have 150 students? It's not possible. How can I do that? And then we can say, okay, maybe in Germany we know a program that is doing this. So what? I already said a few things. The most important words here, assist, and advise. So we want to assist and advise people coming into the networks in all steps of the program. We want to be able to assist a minister of education who has heard about that because he visited the Basque country, goes back to Serbia, for example, and says, I like that, I want to, or has visited the Duale Hochschule in Baden-Württemberg, as is the case in Hungary. We want to be able to advise them. I don't have to advise the minister in Hungary anymore. He already knows what he wants to do. And he wants to copy the system almost of Baden-Württemberg. And they have a goal of having 8,000 dual students by the end of, I think, 2020. They already have 400. They already have 20 universities, but it's a top-down approach. So we want to be able to do that, but also advise and help tutors or professors. So we want to also advise each other to go a step further, to really have sustainable programs that can overcome crisis, that can also live through competition among each other, through a lack of girls, that is, or women. Attract women into engineering is a question we are discussing. And we are, at the moment, even I always used to say in Baden-Württemberg, they are very successful. Now my colleague, vice rector in one of the campuses, Max, is telling me it is getting more difficult. So we know we have an issue. And now I hear the same thing from the Basque country. So we have defined a topic that might maybe be the topic of a small symposium, might be the topic of a small workshop, targeted at everybody who might contribute either a question or an answer. We want to explore opportunities for internationalization. Just think of what Nathalie said. It's difficult to internationalize if you have a rotation of morning and afternoon, or you have a rotation of 1 week and another week. But if something is difficult, it's a challenge. It doesn't say it's not possible. So internationalization in a dual program is always difficult, but the more institutions we have and the more companies we have that know the value of dual education, the more partners we have that are willing to explore together with us solutions for any situation. What we know is we'd like to have our students go abroad. We just know that we are all in a globalized society and that their future jobs will imply, if they are successful, connection with international partners. And we have a chance and we must explore every possibility to do that in the course of their studies. And of course, what we also want to do is disseminate anything we learn to a wider audience. For example, there will be an annual conference. And you can see already what is done maybe with the website, where do you need a conference. And I think a lot of activities will be done by just going out to the place or inviting people and have small groups of discussion concentrated on the actual topic that we share at this moment. A first picture I want to give you. I would now have to walk up, but you see, all you can maybe see is the blue institutions, that's us in the project, already existing. The big circle could be 30 national contact points after a few years. So we'd like to have at least one institution in every country who is willing to take part and that is willing to disseminate and join the institutions in this country. So there would be national platforms, and that is something that I have created in Austria in the course of the project. Until 2014, we were the only university offering, like the Basque University, offering dual studies. In 2014, the second university started. In 2015, the third. And so we have created a national platform, and the orange circle is our national accreditation agency. And in the meantime, also, the responsible woman from the Ministry of Science and Education is part on the platform. And so we are meeting in this platform 3 times a year, and we are already assisting other universities who have started and kind of put up a proposal for accreditation. So at the moment, already 2 other universities are part of the platform, not because they already have a program, but they will start this fall, and they are already up for accreditation. So that is something that in some countries already exists, but that would be the next step. And then the last one, of course, every one of us institutions is responsible to join the stakeholders in their region, like IHACA is already doing here, the Industrial Association, the mayors, the governor, whoever it is, to co-create with them the future development, bring the experience into the national development, and from the national development maybe do a little bit of transformation in Europe. We know now, from many years of dual studies, that with very little steps over the years, we can transform ourselves as an institution, and we can transform the companies. That makes us trusting in what we're doing, even if it is a very big goal to aim for a transformation in Europe. The good thing is that there are many other activities on European level at the moment, as we heard today, that point in the same direction. On the secondary school level, vocational education is a very big topic. From the employment side, it is a topic. From the side of the quality assurance of higher education, we are asked to include work placements. We are asked to enable students to have an individual path of education. And you can imagine, even if we teach at university the same subjects to all students, if they go to your 28 companies, everybody finishes with a different type and very personalized education. And I finish with showing you from the Austrian National Platform the latest product we did to motivate you also. We are only starting. This is different from Germany. Germans couldn't do that. So we said at the start is a good time to make a definition, so not everybody can call everything dual. So we made a document to define what is dual study in Austria, and this document just passed through the accreditation board, through the ministry, and through the government, and was approved. It doesn't have any official role yet, but the wording in German is approved. In this document, we define the main reasons for us in Austria at the moment why we are interested. For example, for universities, it's the enhancement of quality management, because we have short feedback cycles, as I told you. For the companies, it's to develop themselves into a learning place, which is also needed for lifelong learning. It's also needed for young apprentices. To do strategic recruiting and human resources management, and I just want to add one thing to why are companies doing it. We have companies who doing dual education because you asked assessment. How do the supervisors assess the students? In these companies, it's not the student who is mainly assessed, it's the supervisor. So for them, they say, this has proved to be the ideal management development track to check, is a young manager able to go up one step higher or not? They give him a student. And then they look at the joint result. And they say, if the joint result isn't so good, and the manager says, yeah, this was a bad student, I'm sorry, I couldn't do much, then this manager is canceled from the management track. So it's used because you can't say that. It's how you work as a team, and it's a very valuable tool for larger companies to evaluate the managers. This is our definition. It's just a sentence, and we worked the longest on reducing all these 100 options we have to one definition. And you see, it's the integration. I just pick out one thing: is equally important learning places. That doesn't matter equally long. You can have longer periods in either, but the importance has to be equal, and that means also the responsibility and the engagement of the institutions. And not to forget, the importance of the responsibility of the student is also included here, and these are our features. We discussed quite some time to call it criteria. Criteria then was too strong. At the moment, we are not as far yet as to kind of have a law. This is a dual study. So we decided we'll call them features, or we call them attributes to describe what is the case at the moment. And maybe what you can see is there should, if you just take maybe the last sentence, it's a continuous educational partnership. It includes a contract. So there's security for everybody. It doesn't say, does it have to be a contract between university and company and student? It has to be a contract. In our case, we only have a contract, company to student. And in this contract, everything is written. We say, as our strategy, we don't have a contract with the companies. We just talk with each other. In other programs, when you are interested and you need a contract between university and company, I can send you to another region, and they have a good argument for having a contract. So that is, for me, my last slide. Anybody who is interested to things that happen in one of these regions just has to contact one of us. But now I want for the very end to invite Josefina from the Universitat de Girona. She has been our guest yesterday. And we explored how can a consultation process happen in the network. So she was on the hot seat. She was sitting there telling us a little bit about her problem. It's the creation of something in a business environment that has been emerging. She will tell something in Spanish to you. And how could the network help her? And it was just a short conversation, asking her questions, sometimes giving her also answers and hints. And I asked her to take a few minutes. We didn't have a discussion before. Just tell you a little bit what happened yesterday and whether she thinks it was helpful or not. At least thank you for doing this yesterday. And now.
Bueno, buenos días. En primer lugar, quería agradecer a la Red Europea de Formación Dual su invitación a participar en este encuentro y también de forma muy especial agradecer a la Universidad del País Vasco y al Instituto de Maquinaria y Herramienta habernos acogido. El objetivo de mi presentación es decirles en 4 palabras cuál ha sido mi experiencia de participación, y voy a hacerlo siguiendo un poco las actividades en las que he participado y exponiéndoles mi reflexión acerca de lo que he aprendido y de lo que la red me ha podido aportar. Realizamos durante estos días 3 actividades. La primera de ellas fue un workshop donde tuvimos la oportunidad de hablar y de poder preguntar todo aquello que cuando uno se propone un proyecto de formación dual y estás empezando, te vienen muchas preguntas, muchos interrogantes que muchas veces no puedes responder directamente. Entonces tuve la oportunidad de poder contrastar con cada uno de los integrantes de esta network las preguntas y los interrogantes que yo me planteaba. Pude ver cómo hay diferentes situaciones todos comparten un mismo modelo educativo y hay mucha flexibilidad. Esto también es algo que es muy importante y que detectas enseguida, pero pude captar esta esencia de la formación dual, que es compartir este mismo modelo educativo, independientemente de las pequeñas diferencias que puede haber en cada universidad y en cada país. Me proporcionó también este espacio muchas herramientas para poder afrontar distintas dificultades que preveemos y que pueden aparecer ligadas con nuestra cultura, académicas o legislativas. El segundo día participé en un ejercicio de simulación. Creo que ustedes han podido ver un ejercicio que Ichaka ha mostrado en sus diapositivas, que era como un señor que se está tirando de un trampolín y hay unos diferentes pasos o steps que tienes que ir siguiendo y preguntándote cuando te propones pues, hacer o preparar una formación dual. Yo quiero decir que yo me presté voluntaria con el proyecto de la Universidad de Girona que tenemos y que estamos preparando, y creo que me aplicaron el tercer grado, porque como no el cuarto, pero al final me sirvió muchísimo porque pude identificar de forma muy clara la fase del proyecto en la que nos encontramos nosotros, detectar nuestras fortalezas, los puntos de mejora para seguir avanzando, me ayudaron a anticipar aquellos aspectos que pueden requerir modificaciones o replanteamientos en los que no habíamos pensado y conocer qué nos falta para llegar a culminar el proyecto y ponerlo en práctica. Y en tercer lugar, comentarles un poco la actividad de ayer, que fue la visita a las empresas y a la universidad. Pudimos conocer in situ las empresas, su organización, la conexión con la universidad que mantienen, y este se ha convertido en un elemento clave para reforzar, si cabe, un poco más la motivación que tenemos y el entusiasmo hacia este tipo de educación. Y finalmente yo no quisiera terminar mi exposición sin destacar esta idea fundamental que queda en mi cabeza después de estos 3 días de intenso trabajo y que me llevo a casa, a la universidad de la que procedo, ¿no? Y que es que la educación dual es de concepción sencilla, creo. Tú puedes entender cuando te lo explican que la práctica es un escenario por excelencia del aprendizaje. Esto se entiende fácil, pero en cambio el engranaje que requiere, esto es lo complejo. Y yo creo que la existencia de una red, de una network, con gente tan experta que lleva incluso 20 años o más trabajando en ello, a los que empezamos, te ayuda. Y más si trabajas con ellos. Y yo creo que esto es fundamental. Cuando empiezas en un proyecto tan complejo que requiere de este engranaje, tener y estar acompañado por personas que son líderes, que son pioneros, que tienen mucha experiencia, y quién mejor que la red europea de formación dual en la universidad. Y desde aquí agradecer todo el trabajo que llevan haciendo, todo lo que han hecho por transmitirnos su experiencia. Muchas gracias.
I have to add something, because what was so striking in the work with Josefina was the simple question we started with, and the complex path that kind of then was created, and I think she always also takes back some solution. Her simple question was, we have an again growing fashion industry, and the fashion industry complains that the fashion designers don't know how to sew anymore. They don't know how to produce clothes. What could we do about it? So that was a simple starting question, and I think we got quite far in a first vision of how could especially dual education help and how could the program be designed, and also what would be the opportunities, what would be also the threats, what are the strengths she already has, and what are maybe the weaknesses that she has to overcome. Thank you very much for contributing.